fire users. We sure had plenty of them in fighting games in general and in KOF in particular. I even made a top 10 list of fighters using this element of nature. On the other hand, characters using the opposite elements are very rare for some reason, which makes the star of this video, Kula Diamond, a one-of-a-kind as the only ice user in KOF. Introduced for the first time in 2000, her creation was meant to counterbalance the presence of the Nest Saga's protagonist, K-. And since then she became a stable character in the following installments, with the only exception of KOF 2003. And while I did briefly tackle her story in previous videos, there is just a lot more going on with Kula that a dedicated episode had to be made for her. Before diving into her backstory, as always, if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you can be notified with every new video posted. We know nothing about Kula's origins. Her birthplace and nationality are total mystery. She was most likely kidnapped at a very young age by Nests. Like many other unfortunate children, she was destined to become a human test subject. Kula was raised in a research facility belonging to the evil syndicate. Her memory was erased and her emotions were repressed. They wanted to make her a cold killing machine, and they succeeded. Kula used to feel nothing when she ends the lives of countless of her employer's enemies. At some point, she was forced to enter the anti-K program, a procedure that aimed to create the perfect weapon to counter the traitor K-. She was genetically enhanced to master the power of creating and controlling ice. Kula was the first, and to our knowledge, only successful test, after a big deal of failed attempts that resulted into the death of many young girls who weren't as lucky. The most famous among them was Nameless's girlfriend, Isolda. To avoid making the same mistake they made with K-, Ness created an android and named her Candy. She was tasked to assist and monitor Kula in her mission. Even though she was a robot, Candy wasn't deprived of emotions. For some reason, Ness built a semblance of personality within her circuits. Ironically, they regressed Kula's own personality to that of a child. Not that she was a mature woman to begin with, she was technically still a kid. At the age of 14, Kula was given the mission to infiltrate KOF 2000 and eliminate Nest traitors. Kula was not an official participant in KOF 2000. While the matches between the different fighters were raging, she on the other hand was secretly looking for her targets along her robotic friend. But Candy wasn't the only help Kula could rely on. Ness ordered two of their most trusty agents, Foxy and Diana, also known as the Bee and the Butterfly, to supervise Kula and most importantly, keep a close eye on her. While they were serious and determined in completing their mission, both women grew attached to Kula over time. They never saw or treated her as a weapon like the rest of Ness personnel. She was in a way like a daughter to both of them. And even though it's true that they were the ones who always ordered her around and chose her next target, they made sure to prioritize her safety above all and assist her if needed. Kula ended up finding K- and his team just coming out victorious from one of their matches. Immediately, her overseers ordered her to take action. She unleashed the full extent of her powers, causing the entire area to freeze. That was the only time we saw Kula ready to fight with all her potential. The combat between the two natural enemies was ferocious. A brutal clash of ice and fire. Their duel ended in a draw however, and Kula was ordered to abort her mission for a more urgent task. Clone Zero, the former top operative who had betrayed Nest, was finally located. It was up to her and her companions to find and eliminate him, but most importantly, they had to secure the weapon he stole from Nests, the Zero Cannon. While Foxy and Diana decided to deal with the traitor personally, Kula went to space with Candy to reach the weapon. Her orders were clear. She was to stop the weapon from firing another shot and take possession of it. But for the first time, she willingly disobeyed her orders and made her own mind. Kula decided to sabotage the Zero Cannon, which led to its destruction. However, the explosion knocked her out and she was going to fall to her imminent death. But in an unexpected twist, Candy sacrificed herself to save her by protecting Kula's body during the fall. Kula miraculously survived, but the price was heavy. Candy was damaged beyond repair. She may have been a robot, but she was also Kula's only friend. The trauma she felt that day made her start questioning the meaning of her own existence. 2001 saw Nest setting their plans in motion to settle scores with other enemies. They publicly organized that year's edition of KOF and formed their own team. The said team was composed of Foxy, an enhanced agent named Angel, the latest Kyo clone, K49, and of course Kula Diamond. Everything was going smoothly during the tourney until a new betrayal happened within that very team. After he learned the origin of its creation, K49 decided to turn against Nest and Angel joined him. Kula and Foxy were not expecting an act of treason from their other two companions. Just as she let her guard down, Foxy was attacked from behind. The two culprits discouraged Kula from any retaliation. She was strong, true, but taking on two of Nest's top agents at the same time was too much, even for her. Even though she was furious for what they did to Foxy, somewhere deep within her heart, she understood their actions. They just wanted to be freed from Nest, just as she did. With the two new traitors gone and Foxy heavily wounded, Kula was left on her own. She wanted to learn the origin of her existence and know if she really wanted to do Nest's bidding for the rest of her life. K-Dash's team was qualified to the finals, and they were taken away aboard a blimp to meet the sponsor of the tournament in person. Kula managed to sneak up in the aircrafts and kept hiding during the ride. The blimp turned into a spaceship and arrived at a satellite in space where the main headquarters of Nest were located. No wonder Haiden and the Ikari warriors never succeeded in finding it. Kula stumbled upon unexpected passengers. Kyo and Iori were also trespassing. The former was there for his personal vendetta against Nest. He wasn't going to forgive kidnapping him and using his DNA without saying please. Iori was there for Kyo. They all heard Ignis's megalomaniac speech about how everyone was a mean for his own amusement and witnessed K-Dash and his teammates getting smashed by the 56-year-old man. Kula had always questioned her loyalty to Nest, but after seeing and hearing all that, there was no more room for hesitation. Joining Kyo, Iori and her nemesis K-Dash, the final battle against Ignis began. The handsome old man ran out of luck this time and lost the fight. As if he took lessons from Lugal in the art of sore loserness, he proceeded to crash the satellite on Earth and kill everyone on board. Fortunately, it didn't explode as intended and fell into the sea. Kula was going to drown for sure if it wasn't for K-Dash who saved her. With Nest gone, there was no reason for the hostility to remain. They both decided to make peace with each other and turn the page on their past lives. Whip chose to take care of the young girl, becoming in a way her big sister. Before she entered the 2003 tournament with her brother and Maxima, Whip entrusted Kula to Diana, who had previously cut all ties with Nest, to take care of her during her absence. But even though she knew Diana from before, it appears that Kula grew more attached to Whip. She kept complaining all the time for being treated as a kid, but in reality, she just missed her big sister. After she rejoined the Ikari warriors, Whip asked Kula to take her place beside K-Dash for KOF 11. Her team was working indirectly under Hayden's orders and were tasked to report anything they could find about those from the past during the tournament. Once the competition came to a close, they were invited to Hayden's meeting about the Malevolent clan. Getting bewildered by all the people present did not stop Kula from sensing the presence of their enemy moments before they made their appearance. As strange as it may sound, she became a cell phone friend with Kung Fu Master Chen, who at some point promised to buy her a lot of ice cream if she does what he asked her. Chen's request was to convince K-Dash to enter KOF 13 after he turned him down previously. As it turned out, the old man was just as concerned about those from the past as the Ikari warriors and wanted someone to help him investigate. Tempted with the ice cream, Kula just went ahead and enlisted herself, K-Dash and Maxima without their permission, leaving them no choice but to enter the tournament. That suited Haydn too, who took advantage of their presence to order them to explore an ancient site believed to have some connections with those from the past, located in the freezing land of Saudi Arabia. It was probably at that moment when Kula regretted entering KOF 13. The next tournament had many surprises for the young woman, as she wasn't expecting to meet remnant figures from her past life. First there was Sylvie, an unfinished experiment of Ness, who Kula bonded with immediately. After all, they were roughly at the same age and shared a common tragic past. The second figure was a lot less friendly. It was clear that there was still bad blood between Kula and Angel when they faced each other. Angel hated Kula and kept insulting her for being a creation of Nest's, and the latter still held a grudge against the white-haired woman for what she did to Foxy before. When the tournament ended, they headed to the Ikari warriors' base and reported what they had learned about Verse. At least that's why her two partners went there. Kula tagged along mainly for the ice cream, but you would be wrong to think that her motivations are always related to her appetite for sweet meat. Despite her apparent selfishness, Kula is a caring ice girl with a warm heart. That was shown in an alternate timeline when her uncle figure Maxima was in trouble. When his nuclear core, which is the equivalent of a heart, was damaged in Maximum Impact 2, Maxima was in a dire need for help from the scientist who had originally turned him into a cyborg, a certain Dr. Makishima. Rumors were that he was kidnapped by Hades, the evil syndicate behind the organizing of KOF Maximum Impact. Kula entered the tournament in search for the said scientist. During her adventure there, she met one of Hades' agents, a young assassin named Nagase, who tried to stop her advance. Nagase was also genetically enhanced and had more or less the same age as Kula. They became rivals instantly, and a heated combat burst out between them. Kula came out victorious and left the defeated agent, but not without leaving a souvenir on her unconscious face. Sadly, she couldn't fulfill her objective, as she learned that Makishima was taken to another castle, to another base, with a promise of an ice cream waiting for her, with Nagase hot on her heels, determined to make her pay for the unwanted makeup. One thing is interesting about Kula is that despite her relatively small stature, her normal reach is pretty long. They also resemble those of K-Dash, just like her outfit, which is almost the same as his. Obviously, her main source of power is Cryokinesis. Unlike other elements, Kula is the only ice user in KOF, which makes her a very unique character. Her control over this element is simply outstanding. When she is ready to fight, her hair color changes from light brown to blue upon activating her powers. Kula can create ice out of thin air with her hands, feet, hair, and even her breath. Her ice breath acts as a fast and short-range projectile. It can be delayed to trick her opponent and be followed with other attacks. She is able to empower her punches with ice to give them more strength or enhance their range. As said before, she can turn her hair into sharp, pointy spikes to counter aerial attacks, but that's far from being her only anti-air move. Kula's defensive options are quite good. She is capable of freezing her enemies' projectiles and kicking them back where they came from. Speaking of her kicks, she is good at ice skating and uses this strong point to enhance her mobility. Kula doesn't run, she slides by freezing the floor and creating ice skates at the bottom of her shoes. Kula blocks by creating a barricade of ice that is perfect for stopping most attacks, though that doesn't mean the barricade is perfect. She can still suffer from chip damage if the attack is too powerful. Her super, Diamond Edge, where she creates a pillar of ice, is perfect as an anti-air move as well. Kula's throws show her freezing her opponent upon touching them, but you would be wrong to think that she needs to be close in order for that to happen. Kula is in fact totally capable of freezing her opponents in a giant ice cube from distance. Depending on the game, she can be seen assisted by other characters, and that goes from a simple throw to her devastating super, Freeze Execution. It is one of the most impressive supers in the series. Her two overseers attack her adversary first, before Kula freezes the entire air around them, causing them a huge deal of damage. The super looks a lot like Oroshi's Return to Nothingness, and that's saying a lot. The funny thing about Kula is that she never fights with 100% of her powers, out of fear of harming others accidentally, and that includes her opponents as well. She just wants to win the match without killing anybody. So yeah, considering all the techniques mentioned before, it's scary to imagine that Kula wasn't even serious. However, she can be very naive and upfront sometimes. If she hates someone, she'd straight out tell them to their face, and if she likes them, she'd share her ice cream with them, something she rarely does. Her origins are unknown, and she doesn't even remember her real family if she ever had one, but she did find a loving old sister figure in Whip, a caring uncle in Maxima, and a reliable brother K-Dash, although the latter is a bit too grumpy for her taste. At the end of the day, Kula is just a carefree kid whose childhood was ruined by nests. She gets easily excited over trivial things as if she's discovering the world for the first time. She only gets mad when she is treated as a kid or called a weapon. But the most important thing is, Kula is no longer the cold-blooded murderer she used to be. I mean, she's still cold, but in a more warm and friendly way, if that makes any sense. Special thanks to my patrons for their generous support. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and why not consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.